So we're going to have a small group conversation here that tells the third story. So the invitation is to pick up the story as you make meaning of it. We can weave Liz and Carol into it as they comment. It's not like a question and answer thing, and you hear somebody pick up a theme, you might run with that as well. Follow the energy in the room and see what kind of story we can tell here. I'll try to keep an eye on order of people wanting to speak, and Caroline's going to be on the other side of the room there with a roving microphone, and I'll walk up and down here with this one, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. So who will pick up with the next line of the story? How does the story continue?
I'm very conscious of the work many of us have been putting into establishing trusts, PJPs, companies, or whatever. And I'm just wondering, in that, are we shepherding the mission, or are we preserving, in some form, the institution?
I should have said, just to help us with this, as you take the microphone, just tell us who you are. And you might even be brash enough to stand up and let us see you. You got away with it, Peggy. So you might follow Peggy's question, or... Yeah.
Eileen Carton, Maria Auxiliatrice. I'm just asking myself, how can I live the evangelical counsels out of the changing times we're in and the work that I do as bursar?
Breed, FCJ. Just reflecting on Peggy's thought, I get a great sense of freedom, of letting go, handing over, entrusting to another our patrimony, and the freedom that, while it's painful, the excitement of being a butterfly and the possibilities that are out there in a world where there are different needs now.
Marie-Louise, Mercy. I think being a steward of the charism gives me great hope and confidence. And I think there's the charism of our own congregation, and there is the charism of religious life. And I think we're custodians of both, and maybe we're in the larva stage of the caterpillar, but yeah, I think it's a real hopeful place to be, and it stretches stewardship out way beyond the money and the buildings.
Brother Jim, I'm a Marianist. I just want to refer to the program that's been broadcast over the last 3 weeks, and it's got one more week to run, of perhaps the cocoon, life in the cocoon. An order of sisters has taken in 5 young women, very much women of the world, with the drugs and the alcohol and the sex and the whole lot. And the 5 women have agreed to be a part of a program for 1 month. And they have come into the community. They've lived with the sisters. The interaction between sisters who are carrying many years, the compassion and the understanding that was exchanged between them has just been amazing. And perhaps this is a little bit of a look into the future. What is it that the world needs now? What does culture need now? And I think it's just been an amazing program.
Thank you.
Margaret Mary, St. Louis. I feel we're very much in the cocoon stage, and we're being wrapped around with all these buildings and all the rest of it. Where does the spark for transformation begin, so that we can allow this to happen? Is that our doing? Is there something we can do towards that? Or is that just the inevitable that happens when we let go?
It's great working with Liz. I just said, you want to speak? She said, no, you go ahead. By the way, she told me last night when I met her in person for the first time, she told me last night that she was just really worried that she wouldn't have enough to say to fill up the time. And I said, I've only known you for an hour, but I'm not the least bit worried about that. First of all, thank you. These are just really wonderful, wonderful heartbeats They're really, I heard them as heartbeats, you know. It is a real temptation to preserve the Historical Institute and think we are shepherding the mission and the charism. That is, it's like if we do this with the building, then the future of the mission and the charism will go on. And that is like the opposite approach, you know. It's who are you called to be as carriers of the mission and the charism. And I love when somebody said, what does the world and the culture need from us now? You know, so much of what we are tending to is what we have done. You know, where are the unmet needs, you know? And what they tell us about this life is that the ministries, once the ministries that we did become professional sectors, they're no longer a ministry for us. So why most of us are doing education and healthcare and even social service at this moment in time, when there are plenty of other people besides women and men religious educated in those sectors, we should be looking at unmet needs. So I think that's one way to just kind of gauge, are we fooling ourselves into thinking we're furthering the mission and the charism into the future, when in fact we are dressing up what has been in the past. And believe me, I mean, what has been in the past is marvelous. I'm not for throwing it away, not at all. I'm for taking care of it, but taking care of it as what has been. It's not the same as attending to what the call is now. The other piece that really caught my attention was, how can I live the consecrated life as a bursar? I hear like a tremendous book in that question, you know. But what I want to speak to is, how many in this room are living the consecrated life as vowed women and men religious? Could you raise your hand? Okay. All right, thank you. I would, pardon me? Trying to, oh yeah, oh, that's a good, how many are trying to live? Yeah, okay. How many are just trying to stay alive for one more day, you know? Yeah, okay. But what I want to pick up there, sister, is a caution that I think we tend to ask many of our members to do internal historical institute ministries when they should be out there furthering the mission and the charism. And so a bursar is one example. A technology person is another example. An administrator of a care center or of a mother house is another example. We take anyone who is, pick an age, under 70 or under 80 or under 90, you know. We take anyone who is able and have them do internal historical institute work. And what I'm offering is, at this moment in time, it could be a little barometer for you. Because if they're doing that internally, then who is out there externally furthering the mission and the charism? So I was very taken by that. And then, since I'm Jesuit trained, the Trinity is very important to me. So let me pick up a third one. Where does the spark for transformation begin? Obviously, it begins with God. Obviously, it begins with God. But I think one of the pieces that has helped me so much in the past couple of years is this insight about we can't stop change. There's no way you can stop change. If you think you can, just take a look in the mirror, okay? You cannot stop change. However, with transformation, you have to choose it. Transformation has to be chosen. So I think my response to you, sister, would be, where does the spark for transformation begin? And what do we have to do? I think we simply have to stand before God and say, whatever you're asking, God, the answer is yes. And when you find yourself resisting, anybody ever find themselves resisting God? Yeah. If you find yourself resisting, what Ignatius says is resistance is the edge of grace. In his writings, he says that edge, that resistance is where we need to go, because that's where the next grace waits for us. So I think my litmus test for whether I am embracing transformation is if I feel like the little kid that said to the teacher, when the teacher said, I want you to come here to me right this minute when I go like this. Don't you understand that? And he said, yes, I do, ma'am. And do you not understand when I go like this, it means I don't want to.